Abilene 911.
Hello?
Abilene 911, go ahead.
Oh, I accidentally killed somebody.
You think you killed somebody?
No, I know I did.
Regret that his first hours of life were traumatic, and I regret that he will always have this in the back of his head and will think I do not love him.
They were just kids, but their shocking crimes shattered lives. From a calculated car crash to a twisted father-daughter alliance, these are the most horrific sentences ever given to juveniles. And one 13-year-old boy's unthinkable betrayal, killing his 4-year-old sister to hurt their mother, will leave you stunned. Let's begin.
The youngest person charged as an adult for first-degree murder in Jacksonville's history is set to be released. Cristian Fernandez was just 12 years old when he killed his 2-year-old half-brother.
In 2011, a mother in Jacksonville, Florida, rushed into a hospital carrying her unconscious 2-year-old son. His head was swollen, his body limp. Doctors knew instantly. This was no accident. Hours later, his 12-year-old half-brother, Cristian Fernandez, was taken into custody. A child charged with a crime that shocked the nation. But as investigators uncovered the truth, the story became even more disturbing. This wasn't just about what Cristian had done. It was about what had been done to him.
Were you home when this incident happened?
Was she home or no?
You're definitely home? Because I don't want to catch you in a lie.
Cristian Fernandez never had a childhood. His mother was barely a teenager when he was born, and his father was later convicted for harming her. By the time Cristian was 5, he had already been exposed to violence and neglect. One of the worst moments came in 2010 when his stepfather, Luis Gallegos, took his own life right in front of Cristian. The trauma of that night stayed with him. Then, just a year later, everything spiraled out of control.
The youngest person charged as an adult for first-degree murder in Jacksonville's history is set to be released. Cristian Fernandez was just 12 years old when he killed his 2-year-old half-brother.
On March 14, 2011, while home alone with his 2-year-old half-brother David, Cristian snapped. At some point, the toddler suffered a brutal head injury. What exactly happened remains unclear, but the impact was devastating. David was left unconscious, fighting for his life. Instead of calling for help right away, Cristian's mother, Bianella Susanna, waited hours before taking him to the hospital. By the time she did, it was too late. David's injuries were severe. Doctors determined that he had suffered a skull fracture and brain swelling consistent with intentional force. Investigators turned to Cristian. At just 12 years old, he was the only other person in the home. He admitted to pushing David, but details remained unclear. The case quickly took an unexpected turn. Cristian wasn't just treated as a child who made a mistake. He was charged as an adult for first-degree murder. At 12 years old, he became the youngest person in Florida's history to face adult prosecution for homicide. The decision sparked national outrage. Was this justice for David? Or was the system punishing another child already trapped in a cycle of violence?
You just stand up. I gotta put these on you. So I gotta put these on you. Come on, stand up, buddy. Stand up for me.
After months of legal battles, Cristian took a plea deal in 2013, pleading guilty to manslaughter instead of murder. Instead of adult prison, he was sentenced to juvenile detention until his 19th birthday. His mother, Bianella Susanna, was also convicted for failing to seek medical help sooner. She was sentenced to 10 years in prison. Cristian was released in 2018, but even after serving his time, his case remains one of the most controversial in U.S. history. In court, Cristian sat silent, his expression unreadable. Some saw a dangerous young offender. Others saw a broken child who had been abandoned long before this crime ever happened. David's family wept, heartbroken over a life stolen too soon. Meanwhile, Cristian's legal team fought for rehabilitation over punishment, arguing that locking up a child would only continue the cycle of violence. Even today, the debate remains. Was Cristian truly guilty, or was he simply another victim, punished for a life he never had control over? Our next case takes us to Wales, where a 14-year-old boy committed a crime so brutal it stunned an entire community. But when investigators uncovered what really happened, the truth was even more disturbing.
Described as a smiling, inquisitive boy, 5-year-old Logan Mwangi suffered unspeakable cruelty. A pathologist said the injuries on his tiny body were consistent with a high-speed car crash.
In Bridgend, Wales, 2021, a frantic emergency call sent police rushing to the River Ogmore. Moments later, they discovered a 5-year-old boy lifeless in the water, his small body covered in injuries too severe to be accidental. The victim was Logan Mwangi, a kind and loving child. But what shocked the community even more was who was responsible for his death: his 14-year-old stepbrother, Craig Mulligan. As investigators dug deeper, they uncovered something even more disturbing. This wasn't just a tragic act of violence. Craig had been planning it all along.
His own home in summer last year at the hands of his mother, Angharad Williamson, her partner, John Cole, and Cole's 14-year-old stepson, Craig Mulligan.
From a young age, Craig Mulligan was described as deeply troubled. Social workers raised serious concerns about his violent behavior, his disturbing comments about harming others, and his lack of empathy. For years, he was placed in foster care. But in July 2021, authorities made a crucial mistake. They approved his return to live with his biological father, John Cole, and stepmother, Angharad Williamson. What should have been a fresh start turned into a nightmare for Logan. With just 5 days of Craig moving in, Logan was dead. Behind closed doors, Craig tormented Logan, treating him as less than human. He called him names, bullied him, and made chilling threats. But no one believed he would actually follow through. Until one horrific night, he did.
Who dehumanised Logan with their treatment, Angharad Williamson and John Cole. Mrs. Justice Jefford said that by treating him the way they did, they had dehumanised him.
On July 31st, 2021, in the middle of the night, Craig and his father dragged Logan from his bed. Craig viciously attacked the 5-year-old, inflicting catastrophic injuries. His small body was left with a fractured skull, a torn liver, and over 50 bruises. Instead of calling for help, Craig, his father, and stepmother tried to cover it up. They wrapped Logan's body in a plastic bag and dumped him in the river, hoping the water would wash away the evidence. By morning, Angharad called emergency services, pretending to be a distraught mother whose son had mysteriously gone missing. But when police arrived, they immediately saw through the lies. Craig Mulligan was arrested, and his behavior in custody sent chills through investigators. While most 14-year-olds would be scared or remorseful, Craig showed neither. Instead, he smirked and even bragged about what he had done. But he wasn't the only one facing justice. His father, John Cole, and stepmother, Angharad Williamson, were also arrested and accused of helping cover up Logan's murder. In court, it was revealed that Craig had spoken about wanting to harm Logan for months. He had practiced attacking him, treating him as less than human, and had even drawn disturbing pictures of hurting people. After a harrowing trial, Craig Mulligan, John Cole, and Angharad Williamson were all found guilty. Craig for murder, and his father and stepmother for their roles in the crime and cover-up.
John Cole will serve a minimum of 29 years, Angharad Williamson will serve 28 years in prison.
Craig was sentenced to at least 15 years in prison, one of the harshest sentences ever given to a child in Wales. His father received a minimum of 29 years, and his stepmother was also sentenced to 28 years behind bars.
Hospital doctors failed to share a list of his injuries with Child Protection Services. Today, a review found taking action could have protected Logan.
In the courtroom, Logan's biological family wept, devastated by the loss of a child who had his entire life ahead of him. The judge called the crime one of the most horrific cases Wales had ever seen. But the most disturbing part, Craig Mulligan never showed a shred of remorse. Even after being convicted, he remained emotionless, as if what he had done meant nothing at all. For many, it was a chilling reminder that evil doesn't always come in the form of an adult. It can come in the form of a child, too. Our next case is Paris Lee Bennett, a highly intelligent teenager whose calculated actions led to an unthinkable crime within his own family.
How old is Ella?
4.
She's 4 years old? How old are you?
13.
Is she bleeding anywhere?
Yes, she's bleeding all over the bed.
What could drive someone so young to commit such a brutal act? On a quiet evening in Abilene, Texas, 2007, Charity Lee was working a late shift at a local restaurant when she received a phone call that would change her life forever. Her 13-year-old son, Paris Lee Bennett, had been babysitting his 4-year-old sister, Ella. But what unfolded in their small, unassuming home that night was nothing short of a nightmare. Paris Bennett was a highly intelligent and charismatic teenager. With an IQ of 141, he excelled in school and often impressed adults with his maturity and wit. But beneath this polished exterior was a much darker side, one fueled by resentment, manipulation, and an unthinkable desire for revenge.
I remember being angry all day long and thinking all day long, I want to hurt somebody if I'm going to snap.
Paris harbored a deep anger towards his mother, Charity, stemming from her past struggles with substance use and the perceived failures in their relationship. But instead of confronting her directly, Paris devised a plan to hurt her in the most devastating way possible. On February 5th, 2007, Paris intentionally convinced their babysitter to leave early, leaving him alone with Ella. Then, after calmly watching television for hours, Paris entered Ella's bedroom, armed with a knife. The attack was violent and merciless. Ella was stabbed 17 times as she lay in her bed, completely defenseless.
The babysitter, I thought about going down the street and seeing somebody I knew, and I thought about hurting a stranger.
What makes this case even more disturbing is what Paris did afterward. Instead of panicking or trying to cover his tracks, he called 911. On the call, Paris calmly claimed that he had experienced a psychotic episode and attacked his sister. But as investigators would soon discover, his actions were anything but impulsive. They were the result of cold, calculated planning. As the investigation unfolded, the horrifying truth about Paris's motive came to light. During police interrogations, Paris admitted that his real target wasn't Ella. It was his mother. He believed that by killing Ella, he could inflict the ultimate pain on Charity, leaving her to suffer with the loss of her daughter for the rest of her life.
Paris, what is your problem?
Mom, what's your least favorite word?
My what?
Your least favorite word.
Evidence revealed that Paris had spent weeks planning the murder. On the night of the crime, he deliberately waited until the babysitter left and even spent time in Ella's room before the attack, staring at her while she slept. His lack of remorse and chilling demeanor shocked investigators. In court, the details of Ella's murder left the jury horrified. Photos of the crime scene, combined with Paris's own confessions, painted a picture of a teenager whose intelligence and cunning were matched only by his capacity for cruelty. Paris Bennett was convicted of capital murder and sentenced to 40 years in prison, the maximum sentence allowed for a juvenile under Texas law at the time. While he remains eligible for parole after serving half his sentence, many, including his own mother, have expressed fears about the possibility of his release. During sentencing, Paris showed little emotion, maintaining the same calm, detached demeanor he had displayed throughout the investigation. His lack of visible remorse only deepened the tragedy of the case. Despite the unimaginable pain of losing her daughter at the hands of her own son, Charity Lee never turned her back on Paris. While the world saw a cold and calculated killer, she saw something more: her child, the boy she had raised and loved. Even after everything, she still forgives him. She continues to visit him in prison, holding on to the hope that he can change. But forgiveness doesn't erase fear. Charity has admitted that she lives with the constant worry of what Paris might do if released, knowing the intelligence and manipulation he's capable of. Her story, captured in documentaries and interviews, is one of love, grief, and the impossible choices a mother must make. How do you reconcile the love for your child with the horror of what they've done? For Charity, that answer has never been simple. But for many, one haunting question remains. Was Paris born a killer, or did something inside him break beyond repair? Our next case is Miranda Barber, a young woman whose shocking claims about her past and her crimes left investigators questioning just how deep the darkness ran.
Don't touch me. I demand a lawyer right now. Don't touch me. No.
On November 12, 2013, the Sunbury Police Department was alerted to an unidentified body in the backyard of a residential area in Sunbury. The body was later identified as 42-year-old Troy LaFerrera. He was from Port Trevorton, 20 minutes from where his body had been found. He had been married for 2 years and had no children. Troy had been stabbed multiple times and his neck showed signs that something had been wrapped around his neck. During the investigation, Troy's phone was found on him, and the things that were found on the device gave clues as to what may have caused his death. His search history and activities showed that he had been on Craigslist looking for an escort. Investigation revealed that he was talking to Miranda Barber on the day of the murder. Miranda offered to have sex with him in exchange for payment. Miranda was a 19-year-old Alaskan woman who had just gotten married a month before to 22-year-old Elliot Barber. Miranda was born on December 14, 1994 in Alaska, where she lived with her mother and her uncle. Miranda had a rough childhood which triggered a lot of problems for her later on in life. By the time Miranda was a teenager, she had been exposed to all sorts of vices. Miranda was 18 when she met Elliot Barber, who was 21. She got pregnant and gave birth to a baby girl. Right after she gave birth, she got married to Elliot Barber on October 22, 2013. According to Miranda, the couple had planned something special to do as newlyweds for their honeymoon. It was nothing conventional. 3 weeks after they had been married, Miranda got talking with Troy LaFerrera and offered to sleep with him for $100. LaFerrera agreed, and they planned to meet in Hummel's Wharf, Pennsylvania. When Troy got to the meetup point, he paid Miranda and they drove to Sunbury. Throughout the ride and unknown to Troy, Elliot hid under a blanket in the back seat. When they got near Sunbury, Miranda signaled to Elliot, who jumped out and wrapped a cord around Troy's neck. Miranda then stabbed LaFerrera 20 times until he died. His body was dumped where he was found by police. The investigation led the police to arrest Miranda 3 weeks later.
That you did it or that you didn't do it. So I'm going to ask you right now a very basic, very simple question.
Okay.
That you need to answer either yes or no to.
Okay.
Were you involved in it, or do you have any knowledge of?
Miranda denied ever meeting Troy. She said they were texting but never met. She also denied that she had anything to do with Troy's murder and just wanted to go back to her daughter. She refused to let the police check her phone and got defensive when the police asked her questions.
Yes, I did take part. I'm in the back seat, covered up by a blanket. In between the headpiece and the bottom is where I tried to angle it up underneath it. I put my feet up against the back and pulled as hard as I could.
Eventually, Elliot confessed and told the police what happened. He explained the details, but the motive for their story changed multiple times. At first, they said that they had planned to kill someone 3 weeks after their wedding. Later on, Miranda's story changed, and she said that the reason she killed someone was because of her daughter. She said that if she murdered someone, her daughter would be taken away and adopted by someone who could give her a better life. Regardless of the story changing, Miranda and Elliot were sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Where Miranda killed someone for the fun of it, the same cannot be said for 10-year-old Joey McVay.
You shot your mom? Yeah. Okay, the little boy shot his mom. I have the little boy here down at my house. His mom's up there. He shot his mom with a .22.
On January 2nd, 2011, 911 responders were alerted to a home in Holmes County, Ohio. 10-year-old Joey McVay had gone to his neighbor's house to call 911. He told the first responder that he had shot his mom with a .22 caliber rifle. When police arrived at the home, 46-year-old Deborah McVay was lying on the floor with a single gunshot wound to the head.
So where did you get the gun from?
My room.
Your room?
Yeah.
Okay. What kind of gun did you have?
22.
A .22? Rifle, handgun, or what?
Nothing.
Police asked Joey questions, and he answered calmly, without missing a beat or a question. He told the police what happened, but they did not understand the motive for the murder. Joey had a 15-year-old sister, Shauna, who claimed to have witnessed what happened. She said that Joey had refused to go and get more firewood for the house when his mom told him to do so. He started arguing with his mother before shooting her in the head. According to Shauna, Joey also pointed the gun at her, but she was able to convince him not to shoot her. What he did after was shocking. After killing his mother, he looked down at her body, smirked, and left the house. When police officers came and interrogated Joey, he told them that the rifle he used to kill his mother was in the room. The police were shocked to find not one, not two, but 6 firearms in Joey's bedroom. There were many more guns around the house because they were a hunting family. According to Deborah's mother, Joey seemed responsible with firearms, so many guns weren't a sign of danger to them. When Joey was brought in by the police, it was soon revealed that Joey didn't understand much of the situation that happened.
I know when I asked you about discipline, you said that you always heard her yelling and screaming at the kids. Did you ever see her strike the kids at all?
Eventually, Joey was able to talk more about his childhood. He showed signs of anger issues and would have episodes where he would get violent but not remember what he did. Before the shooting, Joey's parents had just separated weeks before, and this may have intensified his anger issues. Joey's mother was described as abusive by her ex-husband. Deborah's mom and Joey's sister said that she was more abusive towards Joey than anyone else.
Things are the way they are. You feel bad that it happened, that you actually shot her?
Yeah.
Do you think it was worth it, even though you were mad?
No.
Should anyone be shot or die over an argument?
No.
On the day of the murder, Joey had been tired of the mental and emotional abuse. Deborah told her son that she wanted him gone and called him a piece of shit. Joey felt remorseful for his actions because he didn't understand why he had done it. Eventually, Joey was tested to see if he was competent to stand trial. He was not competent. He was diagnosed with depression, anxiety, as well as a learning disability. Ultimately, 10-year-old Joey was sent to a treatment facility where he could grow and learn in peace. A year later, a judge said that Joey was competent to stand trial. He was charged with murder. Prosecutors were in favor of Joey remaining in a juvenile prison until he was an adult. His sister asked the judge to give the harshest sentence possible. She described her brother as a dangerous child who killed his mother because she stood in his way. Joey pleaded guilty to murder, and he was sentenced to a treatment facility till he was 21. Up next, we unravel the chilling tale of Jamie Silvonek, whose twisted plans led to a brutal crime that stunned the nation.
Guilty to killing her mother in 2015, now wants a trial.
Jamie Silvonek joined the long list of female teenagers who helped kill their parents because of a relationship in 2015. Silvonek was 14 years old when she met 20-year-old Caleb Barnes. Jamie had allegedly told Caleb that she was 17. Jamie's mother, 54-year-old Cheryl Silvonek, found out about their relationship and was deeply concerned by it. Jamie was only in 8th grade, and she was bothered by the fact that Caleb was a 21-year-old Army officer. Because she didn't want to cause too many problems and force her daughter into ending the relationship, which could lead to something worse, Cheryl kept trying to persuade her daughter. She kept this on for a while to Jamie's irritation, but her mother kept persisting because they were in an illegal relationship. Jamie became worried that she wouldn't be able to see Caleb again and began plotting to kill her mother with Caleb. On March 15, 2015, Jamie's mother offered to drive Jamie and Caleb to a concert in her car. She did this in an attempt to talk the two of them out of the illegal relationship. While they were on their way back from the concert, Jamie's mother made a stop at a gas station to buy some things. To Cheryl's horror, she came back to the car and saw Jamie and Caleb having sex. In a fit of panic, she entered the car and showed Caleb Jamie's passport and how old she was. She accused Caleb of rape and threatened to have him arrested. All the way home, Jamie was texting Caleb, telling him that it was time to carry out the plot to kill her mother. They got to the driveway of their family home, and Cheryl confronted Caleb for maintaining a relationship with a minor.
Caleb, if she asks about your age, say 16 and a half again, and that the reason you said 20 is you were used to lying about it to fellow soldiers in the Army to avoid harassment. So when you're in stressful scenarios, it just comes out. She needs to go, Caleb, right now. You don't understand. She threatened to throw me out of the house. I want her gone.
At that moment, Caleb strangled Cheryl. She was struggling and banged her hands against the horn repeatedly, fighting for her life. To avoid drawing attention to the noise from the horn, Caleb slashed Cheryl's throat with a knife he had picked out specifically to kill Cheryl. He slashed and stabbed Cheryl Silvonek in the neck 5 times. Even though Cheryl begged for her life, her daughter watched as Caleb killed her. After all, she had told Caleb to kill her mother because she didn't want the relationship to end. After the killing, Barnes and Jamie Silvonek drove to a Walmart to get supplies and return to the house. Cheryl Silvonek's body was then driven to a rural area in South Whitehall Township and set on fire. Barnes and Jamie then dumped the blood-stained car in a nearby pond before walking back to the Silvonek home, where they went to Jamie's room. Police were alerted to a burning body and the sinking car. It didn't take long for forensics to identify Cheryl Silvonek's body. Hours later, evidence pointed to Jamie and Caleb. They were arrested in the home and taken into custody. Jamie became the first minor to be charged as an adult. Jamie was charged with first-degree murder, criminal conspiracy, abuse of a corpse, and tampering with evidence. In court, a session that was not allowed to be recorded by the media, Jamie apologized for her actions, saying she was a monster and what she did was wrong. She told the judge that she was not forced into doing anything. She said, "I did it myself. No one made me do it. I wasn't under the influence of anyone, or any drug, or under anything but my own selfishness." Ultimately, Jamie was sentenced to 35 years to life in prison. Barnes, on the other hand, was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Jamie plotted to kill her mother, but didn't deliver the killing blow. How does it compare to Natasha Ellis, who was the actual murderer?
I want you to know I'm sorry for everything that happened to you and your family. I'm sorry for the attack on you.
The case of Natasha Ellis was treated with delicate attention in the media because of the nature of the case. Natasha was 15 years old when she helped a younger friend, who was 13, kill her family members. On May 23, 2019, Ellis went into the home of her friend, who remained unnamed, and attacked her family. The friend's mother, Lee A. Moore, 36, died in the attack. The younger girl's father, Paul Grier, and then 17-year-old brother were also hurt but survived. She had stabbed Lee A. Moore to death. Paul Grier sustained stab wounds to his arms and had to wear bandages for more than a year. Ellis's friend had told her what to do and provided the weapons to kill her family. Evidence revealed that the two of them were in communication up to the time when the murder and attempted murder happened. Ellis and her friend were taken into custody and charged. Ellis was tried as an adult and charged with murder, attempted murder, aggravated assault, and felonious murder. No motive was given for the attack, so 7 months later, Ellis pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity. She was deemed fit to stand trial and was eventually sentenced. During her sentencing, Ellis cried as she apologized to her victims for the trauma she caused them. She claimed that she never wanted anyone to get hurt. Ultimately, Natasha Ellis was sentenced to 15 years to life in prison. She also had to serve at least 22 years of her sentence before she'll be eligible for parole. We now turn to another heartbreaking story. Erin Caffey, a young girl whose life would be forever marked by the devastating choices she made.
He got tired of them bickering and said, just do it. Is that true? I'm sorry?
16-year-old Erin Caffey did the unthinkable because of love. Caffey was working as a part-time waitress when she met 18-year-old Charlie Wilkinson. Things became serious between them, and Charlie gave Caffey a promise ring. Erin's parents didn't like the relationship because they felt that something about Wilkinson was off. Because of their suspicions, they went online to see what they could find about Wilkinson. They found out that his page was littered with sexual references and talks about drinking alcohol. Because of this, Erin became scared that her parents would stop her from seeing Wilkinson, so she started talking about killing her family. On March 1st, 2008, Erin carried her evil plan out with the help of Wilkinson and his friend, Charles Wade. Wilkinson claimed that even though he suggested that they should run away, Caffey said they should kill her parents instead. So on that day, Wilkinson and Wade entered Caffey's house while they were sleeping and shot her parents multiple times. When Caffey's mother didn't die immediately, Wade used a samurai-style sword and almost decapitated her. This killed her immediately.
He was to get revenge because we made him break up with our daughter. I heard my son Matthew cry out. He said, Charlie, why are you doing this? No, Charlie, no, please, why are you doing this?
Wilkinson and Wade shot Tyler, Erin's younger brother, and took turns slicing Erin's other brother, Matthew, till he died. Wilkinson and Wade then set fire to the house before leaving with Erin and Wade's girlfriend. Terry Caffey, Erin's father, survived the attack and told the officers that Charlie Wilkinson had attacked them. Charlie Wilkinson was found in his trailer and he was arrested. Erin was in the trailer as well, but she claimed that she had been kidnapped. Charles Wade and his girlfriend were arrested as well. However, the horrific revelation came after the police interrogated the four of them. Erin's story quickly fell apart because Wilkinson and Wade told the same story. Erin had orchestrated the murders. Caffey insisted that she had nothing to do with the murders.
I honestly believe that she was not the mastermind, and I'm not saying that out of denial because it's my daughter, but I don't believe my daughter's evil.
In the end, Wilkinson and Wade were sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Caffey, on the other hand, was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 40 years. Her father, who survived the attack, forgave her, saying that she was manipulated by Wilkinson. We now turn to another chilling case. Carly Madison's story is one of manipulation, rage, and the disturbing choices of a young woman pushed to her limits.
She was having a mental health crisis.
She doesn't know what was going on at that time. We're asking you to find her not guilty by reason of insanity.
Prosecutors say she shot her mother, Ashley Smiley, a 40-year-old high school math teacher, in the face.
On March 19, 2024, a friend of 14-year-old Carly Gregg reached out to Ashley Smiley, Carly's mother, expressing concerns about her daughter's excessive use of marijuana. The friend revealed that Carly had been indulging in the drug and using burner cell phones, raising alarms about their well-being. Determined to act, Ashley decided to confront her daughter about the rumors. After speaking to Carly's friend, Ashley made her way to Carly's bedroom. What she discovered there shocked her. Several vape pens lay scattered across the bedroom. Alarmed, Ashley quickly wanted answers.
The jury seeing 5 days of disturbing evidence, including this surveillance video. First, you see Gregg with a gun behind her back, pacing around the home.
That afternoon, security camera footage from inside the home captured a chilling scene. Carly, dressed in a Nirvana t-shirt, moved around the house, seemingly hiding something behind her back. It turned out to be a .357 Magnum handgun. As Carly walked out of view from the camera, the sound of 3 gunshots shattered the silence. The footage then showed Carly rushing back to the kitchen, where she sat calmly on the stool at the counter. She took out her phone and texted a friend, asking them to come over because there was an emergency. When Carly's friends arrived at the house, Carly asked them if they had ever seen a dead body. Without further explanation, Carly took them into her mother's bedroom, where Ashley lay lifeless, her face soaked in blood. According to this friend, Carly confessed that her stepfather, Heath Smiley, was next on her list. Using her dead mother's phone, Carly, pretending to be her mother, sent a message to Heath. The message read, "When will you be home, honey?" Little did Heath know that this message was a carefully crafted trap.
Her stepfather, Heath Smiley, coming home moments later, Gregg also shooting him.
When Heath arrived at the front door, Carly ambushed him, shooting her stepfather in the shoulder. Despite the injury, Heath managed to take control of the situation. He overpowered Carly and took the gun away from her, ultimately saving his own life. In a panic, Heath called for help. Police officers arrived swiftly, along with paramedics. Carly was arrested on the spot. As investigators delved into Carly's background, they discovered a diary that shed light on her darkest thoughts. The journal revealed a list of beliefs that painted a chilling picture of Carly's twisted mind. Among these beliefs were statements such as, "There is no God," "It's okay to be evil," and "There is no need for family." The prosecution offered Carly a 40-year plea deal before her trial. However, she declined the offer. Carly's case quickly gained media attention, and the trial commenced 6 months later, in September 2024.
Tonight, a Mississippi teen sentenced to life in prison without parole for murdering her mother and attempting to kill her stepfather.
During the trial, the prosecution presented a compelling argument, painting Carly Gregg as a calculating and cold-hearted killer. They alleged that Carly intentionally shot and killed her mother, Ashley, after Ashley discovered her secret marijuana use. The prosecution described Carly as a dangerous young lady who showed no remorse for her actions and planned the attack on her stepfather.
We, the jury, sentenced the defendant Carly Madison Gregg to life imprisonment.
The defense, on the other hand, presented a different narrative to the court. They claimed that Carly was in the midst of mental health struggles at the time of the crimes. A psychiatrist testified that Carly's mood swings were exacerbated by the medication she was taking. This psychiatrist argued that Carly's actions were not premeditated, but were driven by her unstable mental state. According to the psychiatrist, Carly's mental health struggles played a significant role in her violent actions. To support this claim, the defense presented Carly's journals as evidence, which revealed a young woman in mental turmoil.
I need to get some information from you. What is her name again? Carly, C-A-R-L-Y. C-A-R-L-Y? Carly Madison.
During the trial, the prosecution presented the body cam footage captured by the police officers at the scene. The video depicted the chaotic aftermath of the murders as officers arrived at the scene and conducted their investigation. Carly sat at the defense table. She stared intently, her eyes fixed on the screen.
She what? She killed her mom! She killed her mom?
As Carly watched the footage, tears welled up in her eyes. The once composed and confident teenager was overcome with emotion. One of the key witnesses in Carly's trial was her stepfather, Heath.
Went off in my face before the door was, 3 or 4 inches wide open.
Heath testified about the tragic events that led to his wife's murder. He stated that despite Carly's actions, he still had a good relationship with her. This statement shocked the public, as it seemed incomprehensible that he could maintain a bond with someone who had shot him and taken the life of his wife. In their closing argument, the prosecution reminded the jury that Carly knew the difference between right and wrong when she committed the murder. After careful consideration, the jury deliberated for less than 2 hours before delivering their verdict. They returned a guilty verdict, finding Carly guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. Carly, who was only 15 years old, was found guilty of first-degree murder. Speaking to WLBT in an exclusive interview, Kevin Gregg, Carly's biological father, said he was embarrassed, angry, upset, and very sad about his daughter's actions. Currently, Carly is being held in the Youthful Offender Unit at the Central Mississippi Correctional Facility. The defense attorneys have indicated that they plan to appeal Carly's conviction. However, given the severity of her crime and the public outcry, it seems unlikely that the appeal will successfully overturn the verdict. Our next case involves Centoya Brown and exposes the devastating consequences of trauma and systemic failures in our justice system.
Cameras were rolling as she described cutthroat to a psychiatrist.
I remember one time, the first time he did something to me is when he choked me and I passed out because he said I thought he was a joke.
Tests would show Brown was on the fetal alcohol spectrum, a disorder that impacts the brain and behavior.
Centoya Brown was born to a mother struggling with drug addiction and faced a difficult journey from the start. Her mother, unable to care for her, made the difficult decision to give her up for adoption. She was adopted by loving parents.
What else did he do to you?
He talked real bad to me and jacked me up. He pulled me by my hair and dragged me and stuff. He put guns up me, told me to strap and stuff like that, getting that with other people.
Unfortunately, Centoya's life was not without its challenges. As a young teen, she made a series of bad choices, leading to her being handed over to the custody of the Department of Children and Family Services. Centoya's determination to escape her circumstances led her to run away, leaving her homeless on the streets of Nashville.
She granted Berman access to the then teenager all the way through her criminal trial.
During her tumultuous time on the streets, Centoya encountered a ruthless predator. This individual, taking advantage of her vulnerability, started to traffic her. On August 6, 2004, Centoya's fateful encounter with Johnny Allen, a 43-year-old real estate agent and Sunday school teacher, would change her life forever.
I think he's gonna hit me or do something like that, but then he rolls over and reaches, like he's reaching to the side of the bed or something, so I'm thinking, no, he's not finna hit me, he's finna get a gun.
And what did you do at that time?
I just grabbed the gun and I shot him.
Centoya claims she agreed to engage in intercourse with Johnny for $150, but according to her testimony, the deed never happened. At some point, she thought Johnny was reaching for his weapon. Terrified, Centoya reached for the gun Johnny had hidden in his nightstand and shot him in the back of the head, killing him instantly. Panic-stricken, Centoya stole $172 from Johnny, as well as 2 guns. She then fled the scene in his truck. Despite Centoya's young age, the courts decided to try her as an adult, which sparked debate. The Metro Juvenile Court judge justified their decision by saying it was too great a risk to the community to keep Centoya in the juvenile system. Centoya alleged she killed Johnny in self-defense. She said Johnny had intimidated her by standing over her while she was in his bed. However, the prosecution argued that when Johnny was found, he was in a sleeping pose, casting doubt on her self-defense claim. They alleged that Centoya killed Johnny as he slept in bed to rob him. During Centoya's trial, 3 inmates who had spent time with her in prison testified that Centoya confessed to killing Johnny Allen. These inmates claimed that Centoya admitted the murder and even expressed satisfaction in taking another human being's life. Another inmate came forward with a letter allegedly written by Centoya. In the letter, Centoya supposedly admitted to lying to the police about certain aspects of the case. She allegedly stated that everything she had told police was true, except for one crucial detail: her belief that Johnny was reaching for a gun. To further complicate matters, a forensic document expert testified in his opinion regarding the letter. He stated that the note written by Centoya appeared to be authentic and consistent with her handwriting. This revelation left the jury questioning the credibility of Centoya's statements.
60 years behind bars. Even with good behavior, Brown would have to serve at least 51 years before any chance of parole.
Yeah, it's over with now.
Centoya's defense argued that Johnny had planned to sexually assault Centoya if she did not kill him in self-defense. They presented witnesses who testified that Johnny had a dark side and had previously engaged in inappropriate behavior towards women. One witness claimed that Johnny took her to his home, kissed her against her will, and when she told him she didn't want to be intimate, he assaulted her.
Allen's murder, Brown was eventually charged, tried, and convicted as an adult.
Guilty, first-degree murder.
The jury ultimately found Centoya guilty of first-degree murder, felony murder, and aggravated robbery, leading to her receiving a life sentence. This sentence was particularly shocking, considering Centoya's age at her conviction. In 2018, the Tennessee Board of Parole held a hearing on Centoya's clemency petition. This hearing allowed witnesses who knew Centoya to testify on her behalf.
I just wanted to say thank you. I know a lot of people get to see you, but I have prayed for a very long time.
Centoya's hearing took place on May 28, 2018, with Centoya's fate hanging in the balance. After months of deliberation, on January 7, 2019, Centoya's sentence of life in prison was commuted to 15 years plus 10 years of supervised parole. This significant decision marked a turning point in Centoya's life, offering her a chance at rehabilitation and reintegration into society. The judge presiding over the case stated that transformation should be accompanied by hope, echoing the importance of second chances and the potential for redemption. Johnny's family, devastated by the loss of their son, strongly disagreed with the decision to allow Centoya to walk free. They believed that justice had not been served and that her life sentence should have been upheld. The officers involved in the case shared the same sentiment, believing that Centoya's release was a miscarriage of justice.
She is someone that has completely rehabilitated herself.
The president granted Johnson's pardon, saying those who pay their debt to society and better themselves in prison deserve a second chance.
Since her release, Centoya Brown has become a prominent figure, using her voice to raise awareness about domestic minor sex trafficking and the criminal justice system's treatment of young offenders. She has been the featured keynote speaker for different groups nationwide, captivating audiences with her story of survival and resilience. As we turn from the chilling case of Centoya Brown, prepare to meet Amber Wright.
Family showed baby pictures of Seth. Kyle Hooper himself took the stand.
15-year-old Seth Jackson lived in Bellevue, Florida, and dated 15-year-old Amber Wright for 3 months. However, unbeknownst to Seth, Amber had also been seeing 18-year-old Michael Bargo. This love triangle created intense jealousy and resentment, becoming a full-blown toxic dynamic between Seth and Amber. In March 2011, Seth and Amber decided to end their relationship. However, since this was the age of social media, Facebook played a crucial role in the aftermath. Both Seth and Amber took shots at one another, exchanging insults and fueling the flames of their broken relationship.
And then Amber Wright started dating Michael Bargo.
When Amber was with Michael, she would lie and tell him that Seth had harmed her. This false information enraged Michael, and on one particular day, he confronted Seth in their yard, threatening him with, "I have a bullet with your name on it."
And Michael Bargo started talking about, "We need to kill Seth Jackson. Nobody likes him. We need to kill him."
On April 17, 2011, Michael approached Amber's brother, 16-year-old Kyle Hooper, and told him that they needed to kill Seth Jackson. Michael then recruited 20-year-old Justin Soto and 18-year-old Charlie Ely to assist him in the murder plot.
He was shot once, but he got out and he made it almost to the road.
That night, Amber reached out to Seth, urging him to meet her at Charlie's house. Seth, sensing a trap, hesitated at first, but Amber reassured him that they just wanted to discuss the possibility of getting back together. Eventually, Seth relented. When he arrived, he was immediately attacked by Kyle, who struck him on the head with a wooden object. Amber and Charlie watched from the sidelines as Michael emerged armed, aiming a .22 caliber gun at Seth. In a shocking turn of events, Michael opened fire, wounding Seth. Despite suffering injuries, Seth managed to escape the confines of the trailer and reach safety outside. However, Justin tackled him. Still armed with his gun, Michael pursued Seth and shot him again. Weak and disoriented, Seth managed to reach safety outside Charlie's trailer. However, Justin and Michael promptly brought him back inside, restraining him in the bathtub. Michael continued to shoot at Seth, aiming for his face, eventually killing him.
They burned the body, and to me what made it atrocious is that they sat out there and basically treated it as if a bonfire was a party. All of them sat outside.
Michael and Justin took Seth's lifeless body and put it in a sleeping bag, and then threw it into a fire. They watched as flames consumed the body, eventually erasing any trace of their crimes. The group used bleach to clean the crime scene and shoveled the remains from the fire into 3 buckets. Amber Wright and Kyle Hooper's mother's boyfriend played a crucial role in covering up the crime, taking the buckets of Seth's remains and transporting them to a rock quarry in Ocala, Florida.
Maybe people are gonna fucking hate us for this. People that don't even know us are gonna be looking for us if we get out of this.
Why?
There's a fucking 15-year-old kid murdered.
After Seth's disappearance made the news, Kyle Hooper confessed to the murder, realizing the severity of the situation. Despite initially feigning ignorance, the 3 accomplices, when alone in the interrogation room, made incriminating statements that led detectives to the conclusion that they all played a significant role in what happened.
I have Mom in here while you talk to me about it. That's okay with you? Okay. Okay, Seth comes to the house.
Seth knocked on the door and Charlie answered it, and she was like, "Well, what do you want?"
Everyone involved in Seth's murder was subsequently arrested, with Michael Bargo being sentenced to death. Amber, her brother Kyle, Charlie Ely, and Justin Soto were sentenced to life in prison. Amber's mother's boyfriend pleaded guilty to accessory after the fact, acknowledging his role in the cover-up. Amber was retried for Seth's murder in 2016 after an appellate court raised questions about the timing of her Miranda rights during the initial trial. Despite the guilty verdict, there was hope for a lighter sentence due to a technicality. However, the judge ultimately decided that Amber would continue to serve a life sentence, with the possibility of review in 25 years. Throughout the trial, Amber's family and prison ministry spoke glowingly about her personal growth and transformation since being behind bars. Amber herself addressed the judge, expressing her guilt and remorse for her actions. She assured the court that she was committed to becoming a better person.
Our lives will never be the same, as we will never see our son grow up or have children.
The events leading to the death of Seth Jackson were described as nothing short of despicable by the judge. Amber's actions left a lasting impact on Seth's family, and their pain was evident when they addressed Amber directly. Sonia Jackson, Seth's mother, expressed her hope that Amber would experience a lifetime of guilt, knowing that she had caused so much pain. From the shocking case of Amber Wright, we now turn to the tragic story of Johnny Ryder and Cassandra Bjorge.
All right, Ms. Bjorge, you are charged with 2 felony warrants for murder, 2 felony warrants for aggravated assault.
On April 8, 2017, Gwinnett County, Georgia experienced the shocking and brutal double murders of 63-year-old Randall and Wendy Bjorge. The 2 were grandparents to 17-year-old Cassandra Bjorge. They had gotten legal custody because she had issues with her parents. Despite the grandparents' best efforts to give Cassandra a good life, she became more troubled and would run away from home from time to time. She also brought home drugs and assaulted her grandmother on multiple occasions. She also had a boyfriend, 19-year-old Johnny Ryder, who she ran away with many times. The couple were described as volatile and toxic. Eventually, they committed worse crimes. On April 8th, the police responded to an assault case in a home in Lawrenceville, and the victims identified the attackers as Johnny Ryder and Cassandra Bjorge. The two of them had attacked Johnny's sister and her boyfriend with a baseball bat and pepper spray before escaping. The car they used to escape belonged to Wendy and Randall, and this led the police to force their way into the home, as they expected the worst. To their horror, they found the bodies of Wendy and Randall. The two of them had been stabbed multiple times. Their autopsies showed that they had suffered blunt force to the head and various cuts around their throats. Everyone was horrified that something like that had happened in their community. Cassie and Johnny became the main suspects in the case, and a day after the Bjorges were found, their granddaughter and her boyfriend were found after they barricaded themselves inside an apartment. They refused to come out, and by the time the SWAT team was able to get a visual, they found out that the teens were injured in the bathroom as they had tried to commit suicide. They failed at this attempt and were taken to the hospital. The two of them were charged with the murders of Cassie's grandparents. The interrogation revealed some shocking details that showed that the murder had been premeditated.
It seems that you're sorry you got caught, that you had people over after. You don't seem to be sorry that you killed your grandparents.
Cassie told the police that they had planned to murder her grandparents and keep their bodies from being discovered. According to Cassandra, she and Johnny waited until her grandparents were asleep before entering their bedroom, duct taping and attacking them. The murder weapons included a tire iron, a baseball bat, a hammer, and butcher knives. The two of them beat and stabbed the Bjorges to death. What's even more horrific is that after the murders, Cassandra sealed the windows and doors with caulk to keep the smell of the decomposing bodies from coming out.
And then we came back to the house.
When you guys left, where'd you guys go to?
We went over to like Kroger or Publix to go get something to eat. And then we went back to the house. So we just kind of like chilled there.
Which one?
It was like on Old Peachtree.
Johnny and Cassie then ordered takeout and invited their friends to the house for a party. She also said that they smoked a lot of weed to mask the smell of the bodies, as they were in the house for more than a week.
Things like just seemed different. They didn't look at me the same anymore. Like they didn't, I don't know, it's like the vibe that they have was like, they didn't really know what to do. They didn't really know like how to be around me, I guess. They didn't really know how to talk to me.
The motive for the murder was shocking. Cassie said she killed her grandparents because they were too strict. She also said that her grandparents weren't the only intended victims. According to her, she and Johnny had planned to kill Johnny's family and Cassandra's mother. They both took a plea deal and didn't go to trial. Both of them were sentenced to 2 life sentences, each with the possibility of parole after 60 years. When the two heard their sentences, their reactions were different from each other. While Johnny apologized for what he did, Cassie was said to have been crying and refused to say anything even when she was given the chance to speak. The two would be eligible for parole in 2077. After the unsettling story of Johnny Ryder and Cassandra Bjorge, we now move to the case of Mackenzie Shirilla, another teen whose shocking actions left a lasting impact.
The court, having had count 9, tried to and pursuant to waiver, finds the defendant, Mackenzie Shirilla, guilty of aggravated vehicular homicide.
Early on July 31, 2022, surveillance cameras captured a Toyota Camry driving around Strongsville. 17-year-old Mackenzie Shirilla was driving the car. Her 20-year-old boyfriend, Dominic Russo, and their friend, 19-year-old Davian Flanagan, were also in the car. The car seemed to be going at the recommended speed limit until peace dissolved into chaos in under a few seconds. Mackenzie suddenly accelerated at over 100 miles per hour. The car veered off the road and smashed hard into the side of a building. The crash claimed the lives of Dominic and Davian instantly. Mackenzie, on the other hand, survived with injuries to her arms and legs. When police officers arrived, the scene they found was horrific.
Radio, there's an occupant inside.
The police officers pronounced the 2 guys dead and an investigation was opened. Even though it looked like an accident at first, the investigation soon revealed that Mackenzie intentionally accelerated and crashed into the building. Prosecutors started demanding a murder conviction because evidence showed that the gas pedal on the car was pushed to 100 miles per hour, with 100% pressure exerted on the wheel. There was no attempt to push the brakes. It was revealed that she left her foot on the pedal the whole time, and soon enough, Mackenzie Shirilla was arrested and charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder. A trauma surgeon who worked on Shirilla reported that she took responsibility for what happened to her boyfriend and his friend. The defense also admitted that the crash was her fault. However, she didn't do it on purpose, and it was truly an accident. Mackenzie's lawyer desperately tried to show that Mackenzie was innocent and didn't intentionally crash the car. Because of the nature of the trial, it was up to Judge Nancy Margaret Russo to determine what was going to happen to Mackenzie. And for Judge Russo, Mackenzie Shirilla's actions were intentional and she knew what she was doing.
The video clearly shows the purpose and intent of the defendant. She chose a course of death and destruction that day. Exhibit 802 crystallizes the deadly decision-making of the defendant.
Judge Russo said that Shirilla wanted to kill both boys and probably herself in the crash too. She called her a literal hell on wheels. Despite this, Mackenzie's mother, Natalie Shirilla, desperately begged the court, trying to prove that her daughter wasn't a murderer. She addressed the family of the victims and told the judge that Mackenzie had no memory of the accident.
Your Honor, this was a terrible, tragic nightmare accident to have happened that she has no memory of, and she will never emotionally or physically recover of it. She almost died too, and we're asking that you please not run the sentence as consecutive. He was family and we all loved each other.
Ultimately, the decision came down to Judge Russo, and she presented the state's verdict. Mackenzie was found guilty of first-degree murder, and it was time to hear the victim impact statements. The sister of Davine Flanagan asked the judge to give Mackenzie the longest sentence possible.
I would like you to give Mackenzie the longest possible sentence.
Dominic Russo's brother also took the stand and let the court know that Mackenzie was the most selfish person he knew.
Mackenzie's statement in the hospital to Detective Azu, "Can't you just take my license away for 10 years or something?" That statement is Mackenzie Shirilla. The most selfish person I know. Ironically, Dom was the most selfless person I know.
Mackenzie also addressed the court and the families of her victims, apologizing to them while in tears.
I wish I could remember what happened. I'm just so sorry. I'm heartbroken. I love Dom and Davion. We were all friends and Dom was my soulmate. I wish I could take all your pain away, and I'm so sorry.
Mackenzie was sentenced to 15 years to life in prison for the murder of Dominic Russo and Davine Flanagan. From the chilling story of Mackenzie Shirilla, we now turn to the case of Ellen Frier, a teen whose violent actions shocked her community and left a trail of destruction.
I've seen all different kinds of people, and now see humanity from a new, compassionate perspective.
This is Ellen Frier, and she is being charged with a felony of conspiring to murder her father with the help of her 19-year-old boyfriend in 2017. On October 2nd, 2017, 50-year-old Erin Frier and 15-year-old Ellen Frier were reported missing by Erin's girlfriend after Erin's younger daughters had found blood in their home. Erin's 11-year-old daughter said she heard her father yelling in the morning but didn't come down until later. Then she recalled hearing the voice of Gavin McFarlane, Ellen's 19-year-old boyfriend. Erin's body was found a week later in the woods. Based on the statements that Ellen's siblings had given, Ellen and her boyfriend were brought in for questioning, and the details that were revealed will shock you. According to Ellen, her father had told her that she could not be with Gavin because she was a minor and Gavin should know better. Before the unfortunate murder, Erin had forbidden Gavin from seeing his daughter again and even threatened to kill him if he saw him near his daughter again. Ellen allegedly told the police that her father had been abusive and that she wanted to run away together with Gavin. According to her, Gavin had shown up with 22-year-old Russell Jones with a machete in hand. She told the police that 22-year-old Jones had attacked her father, and she ran away when she heard yelling. However, the story that Jones told the police was different. He told them that it was Gavin who had killed Erin with a baseball bat. He said that he had walked into the house to see Erin's body on the floor. Jones said that the only role that he played in the murder was helping Gavin to get rid of the body. He also said that Ellen had been the mastermind behind it all. Gavin McFarlane admitted to killing Erin Frier, but there was a sickening twist.
I didn't want to kill him. I didn't want to kill him. She wanted him dead, but I didn't want to kill him. And I was like, I'm not going to kill him. She was all like, no, I don't want him around him.
Ellen had told Gavin that her father had abused her and that she was 2 weeks pregnant as a result. Except Ellen wasn't pregnant and Erin Frier hadn't been abusive. He was just trying to protect his daughter from Gavin, who was eventually found guilty of third-degree rape because he had sexual relations with Frier as a minor. Gavin then revealed that Ellen had told him to kill her father. He said she told him this: "Go out in the front room, take him out and text me, and let me know when it's done." After this was revealed, Ellen pled guilty to conspiracy to commit murder and was sentenced to 25 years in prison. Gavin McFarlane was found guilty of homicide and sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 25 years. At her sentencing hearing, Ellen apologized for her actions and said that she was spending every day asking for forgiveness because she found God during the period that she was awaiting sentencing. She will be eligible for parole in 2041. After the shocking case of Ellen Frier, we now move to the unsettling story of Thayne Ormsby, a teenager whose life spiraled into violence in the most horrific way.
3 people are dead, including a 10-year-old boy, and state police are calling their deaths a homicide. Investigators say a relative found the bodies last night in a mobile home.
Whether you ask people in the tiny Aroostook County town of Amity or state police around here, the answer is the same. They don't think there's ever been a triple homicide in this area.
On June 22, 2010, Thayne Ormsby, a teenage student from Ellsworth High School, carried out a gruesome attack in Amity, Maine. At around 5:30 p.m., he entered the home of 55-year-old Jeffrey Ryan and began a rampage that resulted in the senseless murder of Jeffrey, his 10-year-old son Jesse, and a family friend, Jason Dehan, who was 30 years old.
Jason and Jesse ran to the back room. So I chased Jesse, and he was the quickest.
Following the stabbing, Thayne fled the scene, triggering a search that lasted several months. In July 2010, he was arrested on a fugitive from justice charge in Dover, New Hampshire. After months of searching, the police finally tracked him down and brought him to justice. Thayne was extradited from New Hampshire to Maine, where he was placed at the Aroostook County Jail. According to Thayne, he killed Jeffrey Ryan because he was convinced that the man was selling drugs. He also revealed that he killed Jason Dehan and Jeffrey's young son because they were witnesses to the crime.
Wearing a pinstripe suit, Ormsby had to wipe the tears from his eyes as his mother described the long way she says he has come after a childhood of abuse and neglect.
Thayne was charged with 3 counts of murder and 1 count of arson. He pleaded not guilty at his arraignment. However, several months later, he entered a second plea, not guilty by reason of insanity.
His 10-year-old son Jesse and Jason Dehan, Ormsby did not shed a single tear.
For the murder of Jeffrey Ryan, it is my sad but solemn duty.
In 2012, Thayne, now 21, found himself on trial at the Holton Superior Court. The charges were serious, 3 counts of murder and 1 count of arson. However, Thayne's defense team argued that he was insane at the time of the triple homicide. Jurors ultimately rejected this defense and sentenced him to 3 life sentences and a sentence of 15 years for the arson conviction. News that a teenager had committed such a heinous crime was met with widespread outrage and disbelief. Many people found it incomprehensible that someone so young could possess such extreme violence and disregard for human life.
To sentence you to life in prison. For the murder of Jesse Ryan, it is my sad but solemn duty to sentence you to life in prison.
Thayne filed an appeal with the Maine Supreme Court 1 year after his sentencing. One of his primary claims was that the police violated his Fifth Amendment rights when they interviewed him in July 2010 following the murders. However, in a unanimous ruling, the Supreme Court dismissed his appeal, stating that no mistakes were made in allowing Thayne's statements to be used during his trial and sentencing hearing. The shocking crimes committed by these juveniles remind us just how dark the human mind can go, even at such a young age. From their courtroom reactions to the devastating scars they left behind, these stories will haunt us forever. But this is just the beginning. The next video on screen dives even deeper into the most chilling cases and the jaw-dropping sentences that left the world in disbelief.